So I'm Susie Squires and I'm the Development Office Manager. We do a lot of work with our former pupils, and we've got one of our guests here for you today. This is MES 1992 leaver Christine Jensen and her husband Phil. They own Peboryon Cakes, and they're here to talk to us today about how they founded their business, how it came to be featured on Channel 4's Extreme Cakes, and they're also going to have a wee chat with us about the challenges of running an event-based business during a pandemic and how they've adapted that business model to ensure it continues to thrive. So I'll start off with asking you, how did you get into baking and what was involved in launching your business?
Oh, well, I think the eating came first and then the baking. I think it was the same way for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. No, well, my mum used to bake with me, so I have always loved baking, and that's just grown throughout our life.
Yeah, and then we had a little bit of tutelage in the Ralston House basement, I think, which gave me some confidence, but really not enough to have actual competence. I think it took a little bit of practice, and then we had children and they had birthdays, which kind of forced us into baking, and it was tragic. It was awful. It was really, really bad.
Yeah. To the point where our 5-year-old son, having seen one of Christine's creations, said, "Mum, thank you for trying."
So yes, not an auspicious start. But I think what that tells you is that if you put your mind to it, you really can. You can improve. And so a bit of practice, several years of practice, and then some training at a local college, and then Peboryon was born.
And I kind of just got sucked into the cake vortex. So I'd worked for 10 years for Procter & Gamble, and I've been leading a church for a few years as well. And we'd stepped down from that, and I
said to Phil, "Can you just help me out for a year? Yeah. Just a year." And then here we are.
6 years later.
Yeah. So yes, Phil has brought strategy and a real sort of decisiveness to my disorganization, but fabulous marketing.
Absolutely.
So yes, a good team.
A good team, absolutely.
Oh, fantastic. So how did you get involved with Channel 4 for the Extreme Cakes series?
Well, I think it started because we are based in Penzance in Cornwall, which is the most beautiful place, apart from Edinburgh, of course, in the country. It meant that we really need to think a little bit more strategically. We had amazing farms and dairies and produce around us to make gorgeous cake, but we didn't really have enough people to sell it to in order to make a living. And yes. So we knew that we needed to be a national brand, which meant that we needed to make some statement cakes.
Yeah, we needed to get noticed, so we started making some really extraordinary cakes. We had Yoda levitating a cake, literally levitating.
Wow.
So some very clever and quite expensive magnets helped us along the way, and so we'd made several cakes that made national headlines.
And international headlines. And because of that, when the TV scouts went looking for people who made cake, despite the fact that we are at the end of God's earth, they thought that actually it might be worth the trip down to film what we do, because we delivered all across the country.
Yeah. So we deliver a lot into London and into the southeast, all across the southwest. We even delivered to New York.
Yes.
We did a cake for a magician in New York. Oddly enough, a levitating cake. So he liked the idea of having a cake that performed magic tricks. And
then last year we did a cake in Toronto for Food Network, and so there's been a bit of jaunting about the world. But I think that what I've really loved about the process of Extreme Cake Makers was that we were still able to focus on the bake, and that was really, really important to us, because there's no point in cake if it doesn't taste good. It can literally look like a 9-foot seahorse, but if it doesn't taste good, then there's no point. No. So that has been lovely, actually, to be able to.
Bad tasting cake is a crime.
It is a crime. It's an absolute crime. So yes, that's how we got involved. They just phoned us up and said, "So we heard you make cake," and then we worried an awful lot.
Yeah.
And I think as a business, we didn't we didn't know how it was going to be edited. We didn't know if we were going to be cast as the grumpy couple or what.
Well, you have programs like Come Dine With Me where the commentary of the top is quite scathing and derogatory, and so it was, you know, they obviously gave us lots of assurances that it was all going to be fine, but you know, you have these horror stories in your mind of how people have been, you know, badly portrayed by TV, but they were, to be honest, they were absolutely upfront and honest, and they were, if anything, very kind to us. There are plenty of moments where they could have made it look really bad, and they very kindly chose not to. So
when we were having a strop with the cake.
That's it, yes. Or with each other.
Yes, that too. No, but it was good, and I think as the series progressed, I think we got more comfortable and sort of it worked. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant! Oh, it sounds like it's been an amazing experience for you both.
It was, and I think one of the high points was really being able to deliver the cake to you guys at the Edinburgh Tattoo for the girls from Malawi. That was just an amazing moment. That
I'll just explain for the audience. A few years ago, Christine got in touch with us because we had some of the girls from the Edinburgh Girls High School in Malawi coming over for the summer to take part in the tattoo with some of the girls from Mary Erskine. Now, there's a very long-term association between the school and the Chesney Trust, which funds the Girls High School in Malawi. And Christine got in touch and offered to bake us a fantastic cake. And I'd love you to tell us a little bit about what your inspiration for that piece was.
Well, I think it was such a beautiful connection because I was born in South Africa, and so there was a sort of African connection which felt very rooted, and then the Mary Erskine connection, of course, and so we, from a flavour point of view, we went with one of the major exports of Malawi, which is peanuts, and we went with peanuts and banana, so and chocolate, which is a kind of amazing.
It was a great tasting cake, I have to say. I am biased.
I know, but there were quite a lot of calories in it.
Yes.
But the girls were working hard, so we thought that you know, they could deserve it. And then I think we just, from a design point of view, we pulled from the epic scene of Edinburgh Castle, incorporated the Malawian flag, and the
Mary Erskine tartan as well.
And the Mary Erskine tartan, and also Mittis et Fortis and the little the merchant ship, and yeah, it was a little voyage into my past, and it was fab. It brought back so many memories that I think would have just drifted away if I hadn't sort of revisited them. So no, it was fabulous, a fabulous day. Made even better with cake.
As every occasion is.
Absolutely.
Cake for every occasion.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So tell me how the pandemic has affected your business, because obviously a lot of the things that you'll do will be mostly event-based. Like, how have you had to pivot to adapt, and have you introduced new initiatives to help your business to thrive?
Yes, I mean, at the beginning of the pandemic, our main customers are brides and grooms getting married across the country, down in Southwest and across the country. And so with weddings being essentially banned, or reduced to 15 or to 0, or at the best point in the pandemic 30, for us down in England, it just meant that it wiped out our entire order book for the whole year, which meant we had to get creative. And I think we are pretty creative people, but necessity is
necessity is a mother of invention. So we've always loved baking, you know, so for us it's always started out a great tasting cake, and yes, it might look like a juggling kangaroo or a 9-foot seahorse or whatever else, but it is about the bake. So in many ways it was an excuse to go back to what we really love, which is just great tasting cake. So we have started a business called Black Box Cake, and we actually mail out slices, so not decorated cake, but just slices of just absolutely top-notch
award-winning cake.
Award-winning, yes.
I know, we just
very exciting.
Hot off the press that we got a Great Taste Award just recently, so that was fantastic for a pina colada cake. And so we're just trying to find legal ways to get cake to people, really.
Whoever thought cake could be illegal?
That's good.
Cake bootleggers.
we designed the boxes so they actually fit through the letterbox.
Yes.
So it's a little bit of letterbox luxury that goes next day delivery. Once a month we do a batch bake, so it's really lovely and fresh, and then it comes out. And sometimes we like a little bit of surprise, the two of us, and so we decided to put a little mystery bake in there with each month, so people could just go, "Oh, give me something that I don't know what it is." So there's a little bit of surprise as well in there, so that's been fun. Yeah. And then when we got deep into lockdown, we realized that we'd never actually had a chance to share some of the bakes. It had been a desire of ours to actually do a baking book, but we had no publisher and no nothing, and we thought, well, we've got a camera and we've got a fabulous photographer down the road that has no weddings as well, so he's a videographer. So we worked together, all masked up, and put together an online recorded masterclass set of bakes and buttercreams and jams and preserves, and then also like answering people's questions about how bakes fail, because some of them do, and that's how we learn.
Exactly, plenty of ours have as well. So we squeezed. So we have a cake SOS class in there as well.
Yeah, and so that's what we've done. We're now doing cakes slices through the letterbox, and the master classes, the online master classes, which have been brilliant. People have been just saying how it's transforming their baking, and now that people have time, especially the Christmas holidays as well, it's fun.
And I think the interesting thing is that with just a few small changes to how you bake, you can completely transform the quality of the cake. So what we're doing in the masterclass is really sharing. You know, we've had a decade of experience of running, of creating cakes and baking. And we've squeezed and condensed all of that knowledge down into these masterclasses. So
it's about 9 hours, just over 9 hours of recorded.
What I've found really gratifying is a couple of people who are established bakers saying, I'm baking way better cakes. These taste amazing. And that's just really encouraging. So yeah, it's been really fun to do that, and really fun to see people exploring how they can take their bakes to the next level.
Yes.
Sounded a little bit Marcus Waring, really, at that point.
You did sound like MasterChef, next level.
We play MasterChef bingo, where we count how many times they say something along the lines of taking it to the next level.
Yes.
It's mandatory.
It's got to be perfect. What's the other thing that they say?
I don't know.
A heady scent. Yes.
Yes, it's a lot of it's always heady.
Oh, brilliant. Well, I know what's going to be at the top of my Christmas list is some of your baking demonstrations. I think that would be very helpful. So what exciting projects have you got coming up? Have you got anything else in the pipeline?
Well, bizarrely, way back in January, we filmed with Channel 5 for a show called
Amazing Cakes and Bakes.
Yes, and so that's running at the moment on Sunday nights. And I think we have a feature in one of their episodes on Sunday, the 6th of December.
Yes, as far as we know.
As far as we know. So that was a lovely, lovely party for a local hotel in St Ives that put in this huge, big redevelopment. And so we were celebrating their launch with fireworks and lobsters.
I absolutely loved it. It was a fantastic.
Vegan lobsters.
We made a vegan lobster, a gluten-free Ray, and a sticky toffee rock.
Yes, it was quite a lovely sculptural piece, but the really flavours were all lovely as well. So yeah, very nice, yeah.
Oh, that sounds fantastic as well. I'll have to keep an eye out for that programme too. And let's just bring this back to school for one last question. What one thing do you wish you'd known when you were at school that would have prepared you better for life and business?
I think it's a question that takes me back to assemblies. It's really funny, that question. I'm sitting in an assembly just before leaving school in 6th year and thinking, like, all these people are pouring, you know, then you do the end of term, this is the wisdom you should take out into the world. That feels a little bit like that. And I think what I've learned is make sure that the people you are listening to are quality people. Like the influences that you choose need to have credibility and character. Because I think so much of how we think about ourselves, how we think about what we do, how we think about our relationships, what we think about our businesses, is all, you know, it's influenced by people that we put around ourselves. So I would say make sure that who you're listening to is worth listening to. Because I think we can all fall into that trap. I know nowadays we can fall into the trap of just listening to the next thing on our phones, not thinking about who that person is or what that article, where that article comes from. So I know it might seem like a tangent, but actually those are the things that guide you on your course through life. So who you listen to is really, really important.
I think for me, it would just be, you know, trust yourself, back yourself. You're capable of more than you actually understand. You know, I know that when I started out, you know, from my school, I went on to study architecture. I mean, we've done all sorts of things. You know, we've international business and logistics, running churches, cake companies, marketing, all sorts of things. And none of those I would have thought were possible.
No.
And I wish I'd had a little bit more confidence in myself, not in an arrogant way, but just recognizing that we all have, you know, resilience and capacity and capability more than we often give ourselves credit for. And just back yourself.
I think sometimes Phil says to me, you know, if I'm saying something negative about myself, he says, don't talk about my wife like that. And I think it's a lovely way of reminding yourself that actually sometimes you talk to yourself worse than you would to your friends, and to treat yourself kindly in the midst of, I think at this point especially, a difficult year.
For everybody.
And for every difficult year we will come across, I think a little bit of kindness does not go amiss.
Yeah, particularly for yourself.
Oh, well, thank you both so much for taking the time out to have a chat to us on such a busy week, and particularly in the run up to Christmas. And all the best with your baking boxes and your masterclasses. It sounds like fantastic, and fingers crossed we'll have the weddings back next year.
Thank you so much for asking us. It's lovely chatting.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, bye.
Bye for now.